Yeah, I think my interpretation is that I think that Sasquatch are wildlife.
Yes.
And this crazy thing happening in the woods is just cat.
Still doing your hair?
Yeah, I couldn't really fix it when it was that little tiny, thumbnail size version of me. Hey, welcome back to another episode of 1980s Now, a weekly examination of the importance of 1980s pop culture and its influence today. You don't have to take my word for it. It's still influencing things today. Look out the window. I guarantee you'll see something.
You can prove it.
Yes. But you can trust me when I say my name is Will, and joining me as always are my co-hosts and friends, Kat and John. Hello.
Hello, guys.
Hello. I fixed my hair before the show. I was prepared.
Oh, Kat's got a hat. Yeah.
I have a hat.
It looks like a Salt and Pepper wore one of those hats, right? Either Salt or Pepper wore a hat like that. Remember? Right? Am I right?
It's a little fez. Doesn't fit very well.
It doesn't.
I use it to cover my microphone to keep it dust-free.
Did you steal it from a student? Why is it so small, Kat?
I don't know. I didn't pick a good size.
Did you confiscate it for someone hitting someone with it?
Is it like the cartilage in our nose and ears? Your skull keeps growing?
Oh, that's it. My brain is bigger.
I didn't say anything about your brain.
Oh.
Explains the thumping sound. Thunk, thunk, thunk as you walk around. Hey, thanks to everybody joining us right now as we stream live on Facebook and YouTube. Disposable says, I was born in 1981. Now wow me with GoBots and Popples.
Oh, man.
Uh-oh, we're in trouble.
Yeah, I don't know that there's any of those this week.
Would you settle for a Monchichi?
Oh, so soft and cuddly.
That's right. On today's show, I'm going to be sharing what some regard as the first extraterrestrial encounter to be officially documented by the U.S. military. John is on, I don't know. I was going to say pins and needles, but it looks more like crack. Or maybe coming off of it.
It's pins and needles and crack.
Yeah.
Why not all of it?
Unfortunately, though, for John, he's going to have to wait because before that, we're going to review current news stories related to 1980s media, including the greatest 1980s horror movies according to Variety, anyway. And I'm curious what y'all's opinion are. And I mean, my two wonderful co-hosts and anybody who's watching us live right now. Also, the interactive Dungeons and Dragons show that's coming to your town. Oh, I can't wait for this one. This is a cool show. And the huge UFO announcement that could be coming in weeks.
Whoa.
Yeah, look, I want to say that this is coincidental, and it is coincidental, right? Today I had planned on October sharing with you some true stories that are weird and unusual. And so I had planned on talking about this, but it was very likely that there'd be a coincidence of a real UFO story in the news and us talking about UFOs today because there's just tons of stories about what they call UAPs now, I suppose.
Right.
Every day there's something else coming out, and let's face it, most of them are just bullshit, right? I mean, if not all of them are bullshit.
That many people can't be wrong.
Yeah, there you go. All right, we'll go with that. All right.
It depends on the publication.
Hey, when you get done with this show, do me a favor. You don't have to listen to it, but put it on, and just like Kat, you can just turn the volume down and just like it or subscribe to it. But go check out our buddy here, John. He's got another channel over on YouTube, Gen X Grown Up. He's also got an audio podcast available on all platforms, and I guarantee you, you'll have a good time with those folks over there. They're also old like us and talk about similar,
equally old.
There's a Venn diagram of our topics, and we come at them at different ways, though. Anyway.
Right. And like this show, much better consumed on mute.
Yes, exactly. But you know what, John? Most people didn't even hear you say that or me say the other thing. Let's face it.
Yeah.
Because it's muted.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Of course.
All right, here's more stuff for you to avoid listening to in 1980s news. Oh, let's see. BFG's already chiming in here. Says, I downloaded some app with UAP reports. Most of the ones near me were obviously airplanes and antenna towers. That's the problem.
But near you, like a sexual offender database, it's like UFOs in your area.
UAPs near me.
They have to self-report.
I'm going to drive to this field where it was recently sighted, stand in the middle, arms wide.
Yeah. Arms wide. John's going to have his legs wide. Who's he kidding? Face down.
Projected upon me.
Okay. With that Probe Me shirt. We'll talk about UFO stuff in a minute. Hey, let's first get in the Halloween spirit and talk about horror movies because as ranked by Variety, they've given us the 100 best horror movies of all time. Now, of course, in the interest of time on our show, just the particular focus of the show, we're going to talk about some of the 1980s ones. Which there's actually 13 that made the list. So more than 10% of the films on there are from the 1980s. And the oldest one on there is The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which is a 1920 film. And the most recent one is Hereditary from 2018. So across that whole breadth of 100 years, 10% of them are 1980s films. So that's more than 10%, right? That's pretty good.
I love that it's 13 of them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So we're going to talk about 5 of them. The 5. Look, I'll be honest with you. I picked the 5 because the ones that I'm most familiar with.
They're your favorite 5. They're on your list.
Exactly. So Variety says if cinema is like dreaming with our eyes open, then horror movies could rightly be viewed as waking nightmares, an opportunity to confront our unconscious fears directly, most often as entertainment, but sometimes with the express purpose of terrifying ourselves. Now, already I'm wondering, isn't it always with at least some purpose of terrifying yourself? I mean, I get that you want to do it for entertainment as well, but I think any type of horror movie you set out to watch is the understanding that you're looking for a scare, right?
My purposes would be just so I can keep up with what you're talking about.
Okay. But you
That's a special case.
You might be scared, though.
I expect I might be scared. I'm not looking for a scare, but I expect I might be scared. And then I'll be like, okay, I saw it.
Well, I think you're right for quality horror movies. I think people who watch bad horror movies watch them intentionally for a different reason.
Okay.
They're probably watching them to make fun of them, to enjoy them ironically, to enjoy the poor whatever makes it a bad horror movie, whether it's the writing or the acting or the effects or whatever. But I think your assertion is accurate for quality, for good horror movies. Yeah, it's like riding a roller coaster. I want to feel in danger, but have the safety net of knowing I'm not actually in danger.
Right.
Because it lets you experience something that otherwise could be life-threatening. And horror movies do that. They let you get that fight or flight, but you actually know you don't have to run, but somewhere back in your brain, you get those same feelings. I think that's what good horror does, is give you that fight or flight.
Or 90 minutes of crunchy effing leaves.
Yes, thank you, Marcus.
As Marcus points
as he continues to crap on In a Violent Nature.
Yeah, we know about his taste in movies.
I think I heard Kevin Smith speaking about this, and he's not a psychologist by any means, but I think this could be affirmed easily by some counselor of some sort, that we enjoy scary movies because they're actually life affirming. So that the chemical rush we get, just you almost don't feel more alive as when you're on the edge of your seat, whether it's in real life or in a movie. But as John points out, there's something about that safety of our couch or a reclining chair in the movie theater that allows us to enjoy the rush of adrenaline that we get.
I just want to feel something.
Yeah.
feel anything. Yeah. Maybe you feel safe on your couch, but what about when you walk outside at night to take the trash out?
Yeah, I don't know. That stuff doesn't follow me around. Oh, but maybe it did. Did you guys hear that too?
Yeah. I understand that reference.
Good. All right, so look, Variety considered it all. They say from highbrow to lo-fi, pure schlock to Hitchcock, reaching back to the advent of cinema. And look, let's face it, like even as we're discussing here, what makes a horror or makes a horror film, is debatable and contentious. So certainly. ranking those that maybe we agree are horror films or not is even more difficult maybe. Okay, so here's the ones on their list. Again, I've chosen 5 of their 13 that happen to be from the 1980s. Number 1, A Nightmare on Elm Street. And I'm actually telling them in the order to the one that they ranked the highest. So the lowest 80s film that I picked on the list is Nightmare on Elm Street. I think I might have put this higher myself. Of course, it's a 1984's film from Wes Craven that introduced us to Freddy Krueger. And it's one of the many slashers we got in the 1980s, but he's iconic. He's had a franchise for, I don't know, easily, it must be around a dozen films and reboots, I would say.
I'm surprised that's the lowest of whatever collection you're presenting us with.
How do you mean?
I would have thought that would be higher. I think.
On Variety. As far as Variety picked it, yeah.
Right. The least of the best of the 80s of the ones we're talking about, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I would have thought that'd be higher.
For me, it would have been. And I'll give you the ones that I didn't include on the list. And some of those are lower, and some of those rank higher, and some of them I don't know what the hell they are, but whatever.
But there's no shame in being this low, I'm using air quotes, on the list, because it's like saying you're the least wealthy millionaire. It's like, you're still a millionaire. Right. You're still on the list. You're still recognized as in the cream of the crop at the top, right? So, at this point, you're just splitting hairs.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And Freddie split a lot of hairs.
Oh,
yes, several.
Yes. A whole lot of something else. Yeah.
Number 2 is 1986's The Fly, which is a favorite of mine. It's a David Cronenberg's most popular body horror film. I don't generally like body horror, but I really like The Fly. I don't enjoy it for the body horror aspect of it. It's that approach to the film that puts you in this, this mindset that makes you maybe more vulnerable to the psychological things that Jeff Goldblum's character is dealing with. You need that to be in his shoes. You have to see these awful things.
I just watched that recently.
Oh, yeah?
In the last 2 months. Okay. Yeah, for the first time. Yep.
For the first time? Wow.
Yeah, it's the first time.
I think, like you, Will, I don't care for body horror per se necessarily, but there's something about this one that I've seen plenty. I don't seek it out. For this one, I think because the character is so in the moment and aware of the horrors that are happening to his body gradually over the course of the transformation, that it's not just look at the horrible stuff, and it's not me reacting to the horrible stuff. It's the guy the horrible stuff is happening to reacting to the horrible stuff.
Yeah.
And it's that Goldblum performance that he's like, oh, my teeth are falling out. Holy crap. Oh no, my ear, all these things. And he's just kind of like, at first he's horrified. And he's like, well, this is the latest stupid thing that's going to happen to me, apparently. Yeah. It's that transition of him emotionally and mentally on the way that I think carries it for me.
And that ending, that wordless ending where it just grabs the shotgun. Oh,
just end it. Just do it. Oh, and you did the clampy thing too.
Yeah, he
perfectly.
just had like a little claw by then. Yeah,
a little pincer.
Solo Casting says The Fly was great. I still quote it.
Me too.
Brandon says The Fly, the vomit on the donut sticks with me to this day. Oh yeah,
right. You have to pre-digest it. Right? Is that what he's doing? Yeah.
Yeah. He starts behaving very fly-like. Yeah. Hey, number 3 on this list is The Thing from 1982. We've talked about this film a number of times.
It's a wonderful comedy that Kat enjoys.
Right. I don't know why it frustrates me that Kat laughs at things like that.
Barrel laughs.
Why do I want her to be scared? I guess because I feel like maybe we could connect more about what these things are,
Aww.
Well, it's fine.
That.
You have your response that you do, but it's hard to talk about didn't that affect you in this way? And you're like, no.
Well, we haven't talked about Friday the 13th yet. I just watched that for the first time, and that got me.
Oh, that's interesting.
Not hilarious.
I didn't laugh at that. Yeah. Like I don't remember laughing at much in that movie. Yeah.
Is it because that one seemed more possible? Maybe like the thing is probably so sci-fi. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it because of your deep-rooted love for Kevin Bacon, perhaps?
Yeah.
I hated to see that happen to his beautiful neck. Maybe. I don't know.
Or maybe time you spent at a summer camp, and so you can kind of.
That is part of it. I did not spend any time at a summer camp per se, like a group summer camp, but many. At least half of every summer in my childhood was spent in the woods.
Oh, right.
At a cabin.
Grandparents' cabin, right.
My grandparents' cabin. I have spent tons of time in that kind of a setting. So, that freaked me out.
I can see how that might, maybe it's okay. Maybe that's what it is then. Something that's closer to home may be more scary to you then.
Yes. I didn't laugh at Halloween when I watched that. I don't remember laughing.
Yeah. And again, that's, it's more realistic, so to speak.
That could be my neighborhood, right there.
I think what happens to me is, maybe it's the empath in me. It's easy for me to be in the position of the characters and be like, holy shit, this is, whatever it is. It could be as ridiculous as it is.
Okay.
I feel like, okay, I know what it would be to feel like that. Oh, this guy's chest just bit this other guy's arms off. That kind of thing. And not laugh.
So which character do you empathize with? Is it the guy whose chest opened or the guy who just got his arms bit off?
No. It's me standing by watching because I'm not stupid enough to do that.
You're neither of those people.
To touch the cadaver, or whatever.
What would it be like to eat someone's arms with my chest? I can imagine that.
No. Right, yeah. I empathize with the alien.
Eat someone's arms with your chest. Oh, my God.
Owl says,
that would make me laugh.
It did, in fact. It did make her laugh.
Yeah, it did make you laugh.
And it did.
She says
That's hilarious.
Hypothetical. Howell says, beautiful film, Carpenter and Russell. Yeah, what a wonderful team those two made. Yeah. Hey, number 4 on this list is Evil Dead 2, which is, they subtitled Dead by Dawn. That's something that happened after to help avoid confusion with the first one. Like we talked about, it's not a sequel. In Variety refers to it as a requel because they made the first one on a shoestring budget, and then they got money because it was so well done. And they kind of
let's try that again.
Yeah, they just basically made it better. And
yeah,
I think as far as canon goes, it's the sequel, story wise, but it's basically a redo. But it's fantastic, and I think it's better than the first film also.
Okay, yeah, you mentioned that last time we recorded. So should I just change my watch list to add a 2?
Yeah, I
and
think
not
so.
watch Evil Dead?
I think you can.
Okay.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. I will do that.
Yeah.
You can,
I mean,
but yeah.
if you were a fan and wanted to have the context, you could go back and watch the first one. But you'll know what's going on in the universe if you start with the second.
Yeah, and I think the second one is minus that one problematic scene.
Oh.
There was a scene, I don't want to spoil it. Someone in the comments may just confirm this or not. There's a scene that happens in the woods with a tree that I think is only the first one, and people were so outraged when he redid it. He doesn't have that in the sequel. Anyway, yeah, see the second
Now I'm
one.
curious.
Skip straight to the second one. All right, and finally on this list of Variety's top 100, but I chose 5 of the 80s, of the 30 80s films that they had on there, is Tree Grapes. Yes, that's right. That was only the first one, right?
Oh, boy.
Disposable Hero also says Bruce Campbell is a legend. Hey, the final film on their list is The Shining, 1980.
Oh, okay.
I almost wouldn't call this a horror movie like our earlier discussion. I don't know, thriller maybe?
It's a little psychological thriller.
Yeah. Psychological thriller. Yeah.
I mean, there's so many questions about what... First of all, we know Stephen King didn't like the film. He panned it, and our understanding is because it departed in so many ways from his book. He liked better the TV series starring Steven Weber, the made-for-TV movie, which I think was terrible. But he liked it because it stuck to the book. And it's crazier and more wild, like Stephen King's books are. I really like this movie a lot, but I'm left with a lot of questions that I'm not really sure what happened. And I'm not sure I could say it's a horror movie. Did it scare me? Oh my gosh, yes. I saw it when I was, I saw it when he came out, I'm pretty sure. So I was, 10 or 11 years old. It scared the shit out of me. The trailers, I told this story before. The trailers with the blood coming down the elevator shaft.
The hallway.
The hallway. That scared me.
That's young. Seeing that at 10 or 11?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I forget if we talked about it or not, whether we did talk about it. I forget if it was on the show or offline, but the recent movie that was positioned as horror, Longlegs, that ultimately ended up being not a horror and more of a psychological police thriller kind of thing. It's a similar situation where horrible things happen, but you could debate, is it horror? And I think The Shining is much like, I would put that in the same category, that it's tough to just categorically say it's not horror, because I'm like, it has some elements.
Yeah, it seems to.
But The Shining, some of its other elements outshine the horror elements, which are the psychological, the creepy, the thinker kind of thing that goes with it. So I get why you'd call it horror, but like Longlegs, a more modern film from last year, whatever. Yeah. It easily, you could run another list for a different category and it'd also be in the top 100, And
much like our true creepy tale from a couple of weeks ago in The Shining, in the movie, certainly version, and I think even more so in the book, it's got everything in there. Apparent zombies, ghosts, telekinesis, right? And so for me, but still, and still for me, it's on the cusp of horror or not. I think part of it is because it's like this question of, well, what really happens versus what didn't happen versus it just being the unraveling of this guy's mind.
Right.
Anyway, I think it's a great film, and I certainly think it deserves to be the top of their list. Would it be the top of and these 5, would it have been the top for me? Maybe because it's the most. No, I think The Thing would have been number 1 for me still.
Oh, for sure.
Probably Thing, then The Fly of these 5.
Yeah, I'd say Freddy, Shining, Evil Dead, maybe something like that.
The Shining might be fifth for me even, but yeah, we're very close.
Yeah, that's
I might put Evil Dead above Shining, but it's again, they're all millionaires. It's just a matter of like, well, is it 1.1 or 1.2 mil? Right.
Yeah,
So,
right. And actually, the sequel. I only saw the movie. I didn't read the book, but the sequel movie, Dr. Sleep, fantastic.
Dr. Sleep. Is it?
Yes.
Yeah, I avoided it because I was afraid of, legasequelitis. There's been so much I hadn't checked it out, but right.
It's fantastic. And it was made by Mike Flanagan, who makes a lot of fantastic horror stuff we've talked about before, like House of Usher and Midnight Mass. He's got a great sensibility, and it's very smart, clever storytelling. Great sequel that may actually outdo the original, I think. Although they're very different in the sense that he's not Kubrick, so he's not doesn't have that Kubrick sort of art film kind of vibe.
It's a freaking movie.
Yeah. Disposable says it was frightening in the book. Jack Nicholson sold the movie. Brendan says he's reading The Shining for the first time, and like most books, it's better than the film. Yeah, it's rare that it's the opposite, right? Owl says the film still freaks me out. If these letters weren't so small, I'd be able to read it a lot more easier.
David Malik.
What does David Malik say?
The Boogans?
What's the context to that?
I don't know. Something we said inspired the Boogans. I'm not quite sure.
Oh, Karen says I was in college and watched Shining for a film study course. What bullshit course is that you get an A in? What making pottery level course is that?
Well, I had a film class in college as well. It was an elective that I took, but my favorite homework assignment was that I did a paper based on the amount of physical violence that takes place in 3 modern films. So I went and rented 3 movies on VHS and brought them home, movies that I wanted to see, and took a tally of different types of like punch with fist, hit with weapon, shot with firearm, things like that. And I had a category for nut shot that I could include because by far the most violent by number was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but there was less blood and actual deadly violence, as you might imagine.
Did you say you were doing this for a class that you had?
Yes, it was in college. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I included like RoboCop, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I forget the third one because I knew RoboCop was so violent, right? So I don't know what the third one was, but I measured all the violence.
Hard-earned.
I think I saw The Shining
Yay,
in college
school.
as well.
You're right. Hard-earned dollars.
I was old enough.
Joe says, I enjoyed Terrifier and Terrifier 2. Very gritty, well done. Give it a budget and small staff. Going to see part 3 soon. I cannot get into those movies. It seems to me that the gore, look, I love clever films. We talked about this before. I don't need to see shit that I wouldn't want to exist in the real world. I mean, I guess.
What?
I feel like Terrifier, for you don't know, Kat, Terrifiers are incredibly graphic, and each one outdoes the previous one. And even just telling you some of the ways he kills people would be with you for the rest of your life. Even not seeing.
You don't need to mention it.
I haven't seen it, but it's like Saw caliber. Like, oh, that kill. Like you'll always remember the reverse bear trap. You'll always remember these different kills. Yeah, it's that kind of.
I can't get into
this. Kat, have you never heard about the reverse bear trap?
What? No.
Oh, it's like the rusty trombone, but in a whole different category.
She's got so much Googling to do. What I love now, she's going to be Googling rusty trombone, thinking it has to do with horror movies.
No, that's in your head.
I mean, it is kind of horrifying, I guess, depending on
it kind of is.
If you're the instrument or the player. All right. Yeah, Marcus, no, Halloween or Friday the 13th wasn't on the list. Let's clear out some of these things here.
I love reverse bear trap. It's my favorite.
Yeah. Oh, God. Sexy. All right. Hey, as otherwise, I'm getting everything mixed up now.
Also, it sounds like a conflation.
Also, in 1980s news, as reported by Playbill, Off-Broadway's Dungeons & Dragons themed The 20-Sided Tavern is going on tour.
Neat.
The show will launch a U.S. national tour next year with performances set to begin in May 2025. Cities and venues are to be announced. So far, the only one on the website is Washington, D.C., with a run from July through August. Although the website promises more dates will be announced soon, more dates and locations. And the off-Broadway run at Stage 42 in New York City has been extended through April of 2025. I'm seeing it in December. Woo!
Are you?
You are?
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Where?
Oh my God.
Is it in town? Or are you traveling?
Yeah, no, New York, yeah. Yeah, the tour doesn't start till next year. I'm going to go to New York to see it. If you don't know what it is, it's officially licensed by the company Dungeons & Dragons, whoever that is now, Wizards of the Coast or Hasbro. I think it's Hasbro now, right? Owns all these things.
Over top
All
of
of
them.
them.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, TSR to Wizards. Yeah, I think so.
Right. Anyway, it's an improvised quest play. They rely on audience participation to create each performance, which is uniquely tailored to the decisions made by the audience members on their phones using a patented software from Gameotics. Audience members choose which characters appear each evening. Sometimes they have special guests or they have celebrities that are playing at the table, so to speak.
Wow.
And the in-mobile browser doesn't require any special equipment. You just need to have your phone on you when you're in the audience. And let's face it, everybody's got a phone on them these days.
It's the rare situation where they want you to have your phone on during the performance.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Yes. Make sure you power up.
I'd love to see them just have Patti LuPone run in there on the stage though and yell at people. Remember how she famously stopped some show she and was like, turn that shit off.
Yeah, turn it off. Yep.
You some motherfucker.
I've seen that.
I mean, she really went off on that guy. I loved it. Yeah.
Right. Like, something built up to that and she snapped, but the snap is, of course, the most entertaining.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's probably that they make announcements during the show, as you know.
Oh, sure.
Turn your phones off.
Oh, yeah.
Turn off your damn phone. Row 4, seat 3.
They make it vibrate in an uncomfortable way. Not as a way to motivate you to take your phone. I got my phone out. Aw. Let's get shot. Hey, I've got a clip here that's provided on the official website. Let's check this trailer, so to speak, out from the 20-sided
Okie
tavern.
dokie.
That looks fun.
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
I mean, look, if you're into that stuff, I suppose, and I think even if you're not, and the official website points out that you don't need any knowledge of the gaming. You don't have to have any have played any tabletop adventures before. The structure of the game is communicated before the show, and it's pretty straightforward. Let's face it, everybody knows how to use apps on their phones. So they also go on to say that you control the quest as you journey through ever-changing campaigns set in the heart of the Forgotten Realms, which, if you don't know, that's the official world of Dungeons & Dragons. Find a new home at the tavern, solve puzzles, explore hidden secrets, and conquer your enemies.
The audience participation component is interesting. As someone who has worked on the other side of the camera and the stage, as you have, Will, I wonder how closely they follow the audience input, because there's no way to check and make sure. They probably have a few paths they would like to perform, and maybe they, you could fudge the numbers. You don't have to, but maybe not. Maybe not.
Yeah. And you've played D&D before. I think what it might be is, because you saw in that image that they had there, there's much like if you play at your home, there's a table and there's players at the table, although there are lots of actions happening on the stage.
And a giant die.
Giant 12-sided die.
Yep.
There seemed to be a dungeon master at the center of the table with a giant dungeon master screen. So I imagine much like at home when you have to be ready to do whatever your party does. They're maybe to your point. I know maybe there's props and stuff. You got to you got to have a bank full of props and costumes ready to go. But
yeah.
I was playing recently. My local game got back together, and our friend Ray was the dungeon master. And just because I know what it's like to be the dungeon master and to have him as a player, Ray says, okay, you come to a post with a sign and there's 3 arrows. One points north and it says this. One points to the east and it says this. And another points south to this. Where do you go? I say west. We're going west where there's no arrow, and we're going to keep walking as far as we can until we find something. Deal with that. Dungeon masters know what I'm talking about.
They'll always go off script. Yeah. You ever tried a game called Red Dragon Inn? That's one that I know you'd both enjoy, because it's in the Dungeons and Dragons vein. It's not official D&D, but it's a light board game that has role-playing elements. The basic is it happens after the end of your adventure. So you're all back in the Red Dragon Inn. And the goal is to buy other players drinks or injure them in such a way they pass out, and you take all the gold and you win the entire adventure. So it's just hanging out in the bar after the adventure of Dungeons and Dragons. So it's
that sounds fun.
It's delightful.
Sounds
right?
cool, yeah.
And you're encouraged to act more drunk as your character gets more drunk.
All right, we'll play that at SFG next year.
100%. I'm bringing it. Yep.
Okay, cool.
Finally, in 1980s news, as reported in the ever-reliable Irish Star, which is where I go for all my...
What are you saying about the Irish?
I guess that they're reliable. That's all I said.
Okay.
He better not be saying anything against the Irish.
All I said was good things. So,
okay.
The headline is huge UFO announcement could happen within weeks. A British academic.
Is that an oxymoron? What made you laugh?
This is a comedy paper. I get it. A British academic believes he stumbled on the most earth-shattering news. YouTuber Simon Holland. Now, don't you undercut being a British academic if the next adjective appears before your name is YouTuber?
I'm trying to decide if I should be offended or not. I'm not.
That's come up several times.
But I'm not also an academic, so there's that.
Yeah, but I guess when he said hey, in a moment we're going to speak with notable game historian, YouTuber John Reddick. Like, oh, wait a second. You had me, and then... maybe that's an old guy thing. I'm just thinking of everything.
That's when you mute the show. Yeah, we got that covered.
Yes, exactly. Thumbs up. Anyway, Simon Holland, who's been involved in creating documentaries for NASA-funded projects, including one that identifies asteroids posing a threat to Earth, reveals that two competing groups of astronomers are vying to be the first to publish confirmed evidence of an alien civilization.
Wow.
Speaking to the Mirror, he said, quote, "We have found a non-human extraterrestrial intelligence in our galaxy and people don't know about it," end quote. And I say, maybe that also means they don't know about us. And so stop looking. Right? Didn't we talk about this? You guys watch The Three Body Problem? It's based on a series of books.
Yeah, some of it. Yeah.
But the one thing is basically that as soon as we let this alien race know that we're there, they're like, okay, now we know where to go and conquer.
Now we know. Yeah.
Which is what Hawkins, warned us about for years now. But okay, fine, whatever. We got to go out somehow, right?
But it's a risk worth taking.
Look, all I ask is you probe me to death, said John Reddick, notable video game historian, YouTuber.
At the very least.
Holland elaborates that he received this information from a source within Mark Zuckerberg's Breakthrough Listen, a privately funded initiative with the goal of returning Zuck back to his home planet.
I never know when to take you seriously.
Holland believes that this groundbreaking news could be announced within the next month, coinciding with the U.S. election. Oh, is this October surprise? I mean, what does that matter?
What is that?
Is that, I mean, who would that work for?
You know what's crazy? If true, this should be, by all rights, should be the most life-changing information ever to be discovered. That everything that ever happened only ever took place on this one little ball of rock, to find out that no. As suspected, life is not unique here. There's has been other life in the universe. Mm-hmm. And yet, in recent years, news items that should be life-changing and radical have been, well, that's par for the course in this crazy world. Stupid. Yes. Will it just become fodder for memes on TikTok, and then like, oh, the aliens are coming to get us. Let's do the new dance. It's going to be, I don't know that it will, if true, have the gravitas that it should have. Had we learned about it in 85, when there was normalcy in the universe. I
want to say counterpoint. Maybe, you describe as normalcy in the 1980s was that we were being groomed to fear these things. We've talked about this before. We were told to fear so many things in the 1980s, including aliens, because very few of them came with friendly intentions in our pop culture. See the TV series V, for example.
Delicious.
But since then, we've had a lot of representations that are more open-minded. Star Trek has become a bigger franchise, even.
Yep.
To that extent, maybe we have the subsequent generations have a lesser fear of that. Now, look, I probably, what you're implying, maybe I probably tend to agree more with this, is just become more nihilistic as more generations after another come after, another, and sort of just bored with existence.
Right. Well, and those that won't believe it because, it's another conspiracy theory. Yes. If all the other stuff is true, this must not be true.
Right.
You don't know what to believe, no matter how factual it might be.
That's true too. Yeah. And along these lines, I'm sure you've seen this story from many sources, and I think it's been just debunked all across the scientific, community, is this idea that the James Webb Telescope has spotted an armada of alien ships approaching us. And this was going all around social medias. Oh no, but the government's not telling us, but we're telling you and then scientists come out and say, look, that telescope couldn't even see things if it wanted. Like that's not what it does.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't see objects the way whatever.
Right.
But you're right. Amid all that noise, we'd have to be able to recognize something. So if this comes out and it's true, I don't know that I would believe it. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
But anyway, so what he tells the Mirror is that, quote, they found evidence of non-human technological signature a few years ago using the Parkes telescope in Australia. The coordinates of the target object, known as BLC1, are allegedly known to the Chinese. So there's Chinese astrologers that are trying to find this. And I guess, what's the other team? The NASA.
It's the
Mark Zuckerberg's.
Mark Zuckerberg's group. Yeah.
All right, so there you go. So it's Chinese versus Facebook or Meta. They're both vying to make the highly prestigious announcement. Regardless of what the source of BLC's signal turns out to be, it's unlike any known natural phenomenon. Quote, it's a single point structure, he says, and not just noise. The signal, instead of being a giant buzz of everything the universe that we hear through all radio telescopes, it was a narrow electronic magnetic spectrum. And I've got a clip of it here for you, what they heard.
Oh, Will.
Oh, boy.
See if you think this is a sign of intelligent life. I don't think this is a sign of intelligent life. Right? I don't know.
Highly intelligent life. So. I am eagerly anticipating this announcement now.
Astronomers have been thrilled by potential, quote, alien transmissions. Before, when pulsars were first discovered, they were cataloged as LGM, or little green men. And the 1977 WOW signal has never been definitively identified. But Simon believes this time could be the real thing.
Hey, that was wow. That was definitely wow.
Yeah. Your sample? Yeah.
Yes. That what I just heard. Definitely the wow.
So I continue to read and investigate this a little more because it's fascinating as shit. So I'm digging into this. And if true, it's the best possible method of true. You were playing a counterpoint, Will, earlier, like, don't let the aliens know we're here because they're going to come get us, right?
Yeah.
But what actually has been discovered, if turns out to be factual, is more like finding a fossil. Because though it's from our galaxy, it's so far away that civilization is almost certainly dead by now. What we're going to find is not, let's have a chat and somebody's going to come visit and, land on the lawn in New Jersey, but rather what's going to happen is we're going to find some evidence that life has existed because it took so long for whatever transmission that they put out in the world, in the universe, to get to us. They're long gone. We do that now. We send out messages. We send out pings. We send out, Voyager with our record on it. By the time, if there is another civilization in the galaxy or universe to get it, by the time they get it, we're long gone. It's more of just evidence we existed. Now, this is less tangible, but it's the best way to find out because we're not in any peril, but rather there is evidence. And the reason that I want aliens to exist in the first place is the hope that it will cause some sort of unity on the planet we have to say, oh, my neighbor is not the other. Aliens are the other. We are a family. We are cohesive. Now, is that optimistic? Yes, but it is. Yeah, it's a factor that could lead to more unity on our planet if we knew that we were in fact not the other. So that's why I care so much and why I want to be probed. I'm willing to be probed if it means we can have that unity. It's not a desire, it's an acceptance.
Yeah, well, we've talked about this. I disagree. I'm not as optimistic. Years ago, I would have been. Certainly in the last 10 years now. There's nothing that can unite us, I don't think. But it would be awesome if we could do that. That'd be wonderful.
That's the thing. Yeah.
I would love it if that's it. Bring it on.
That's what it takes. Yeah.
Are you up for getting probed too then, Kat? Is this? I'm
gonna think hard about that. Okay. I'll get back to you.
Owl says, I was a self-proclaimed ufologist years ago. You're right. 90% is bull.
5 stars. Would probe again. That's my review on Yelp.
I'm giving you 5 stars for probing me. Does the work the other way too? Marcus
you can rate
says,
them.
arrogant to
Would
think
receive probing.
that life somewhere else thinks it's important to seek us out. Now, you notice it's not that, Marcus. It's what Hawking suggested, that when another civilization leaves its world, it's looking for resources.
Right.
You know, there's no other reason to leave. You want food, you want land. Yeah. And that's the history of the
exploration, purely altruistic reasons could exist.
Has it in human history? I don't know. I think that was Hawking's point. I don't think there's examples.
In human history, humans are piss ants in the universe. I'm asserting that other civilizations had been able to do more than what we do. No, we don't break out for purely exploration. We want the gold. We want the land. Yeah. I get that. But we're also, we're just little caveman monkeys. Well, we're barely into our evolution.
You're right. To your point, if you could evolve to have the technology that would allow you to travel light years, you would hope that emotionally, psychologically, in other ways, you would have become more enlightened.
Also advanced. Right. That's the hope.
That would be good.
Yeah.
And then maybe a species like that would have the ability to bring us together because they would just know how the have the riz to do it.
They just shoot you with a be nice ray. Stop being a dick. They're like, oh, I love everyone now.
I try to do that all the time. Shoot people with my Be Nice Ray.
Your Be Nice Ray, does it work? Do you have any success?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes it's a long effect that I might never see, kind of like a signal going out to some other.
So like in an MMO, that's like a DPS gun, right? It doesn't really kill you right away, but you keep it on them. And over time, a little damage. Yeah.
Yep.
Brandon's volunteering you, John, to be a wonderful ambassador between us and the aliens.
Mm-hmm.
I'm there. Sign me up.
Yeah.
Put me in, coach. Put me in the writer's room and in the spaceship.
Let's get to our story here and say that is 1980s news. Hey, I know it doesn't sound like it because our show sounds so damn good, but we don't have a big corporate sponsor or a giant podcast network behind us. No. In fact, this show is brought to you week after week with the generosity of folks just like you, listeners who give us $1 or $2 or more every month to help us pay all the different bills associated with creating a wonderful show about the 1980s. To find out how you can support our show with $1 or $2 or the many free ways to help our show, visit 1980snow.com/support. Whatever you do, thank you so much. All right. Hey, as we promised earlier, today we're going to share a true, again, this is like a couple of weeks ago, a true tale from the 1980s. And I'll give you some sources that you can read all about this yourself. And when we get done with the story, as always, look, I left so much shit out, guys. I will tell you also what I left out at the end.
Again?
So I took some license to just get this down to a bare minimum narrative of some kind to give you a sense of what happened in the early 1980s. What else? I think that's it. Hey, I'm going to adopt a silly voice consistent with what I believe true crime, the shows that I've listened to at least sound like. We're going to play some music in the background and we're going to take a break every now and then. But hey, in the for dramatic effect and also to allow for some discussion. But in the meantime, if you've got any questions, comments, or a better joke, stop me immediately so we can work that in, please. All right. Let's see. Let's get our music going again here. Oh, is it not playing?
It's like Will thinks he needs to tell us to interrupt him.
He's to remind us.
Those instructions are for the audience to know that we are allowed to. So
You're
that when
not
we do
being
it,
rude.
That we're supposed to.
Assholes, shut up already. I'm trying to hear the story.
No. He told him to interrupt him if I have something to talk about or a funny joke. Is what our listener sounds like.
December 29th, 1980. Suffolk, England. As he did many mornings, Vince Thurkettle was chopping wood in the Rendlesham forest when a car screeched to a halt nearby. From out of the vehicle, two men dressed in suits appeared. "Good morning," said one, in a well-spoken English accent. "Do you mind if we ask you some questions?" Once Thurkettle agreed, the stranger continued, "Were you out last night?" "No," Thurkettle replied. And
Sir Kettle?
Thurkettle. Thurkettle.
Okay. Thurkettle. Okay. Got it?
Made up name.
Continue, please.
And at that, the pair thanked their kettle and left as quickly as they had arrived. Curious about the subject of the unusual inquiry, their kettle checked the local newspapers for the next few days. But he learned nothing. And the mystery wasn't revealed until 3 years later, when a News of the World headline announced, UFO lands in Suffolk. This is the true tale of the Rendlesham Incident.
Rendlesham?
Rendlesham Incident. In America, you say Rendlesham, probably.
Okay. Rendlesham.
Rendlesham.
Yes. And Thurkettle would be pronounced Thayer. So it's just very weird over here.
Thayer. Thames. Everything is Thames. While the world only learned of the apparent extraterrestrial incident in 1983, paranormal investigator Brenda Butler knew about it 2 days after. No, 2 days after Thurkettle received his strange visitors. On January 2nd, 1981, an informant contacted Butler with a story that piqued her particular interest. A badly damaged aircraft of some kind had crashed in the forest of Rendlesham. 2 U.S. Air Force servicemen who were stationed at the nearby Royal Air Force Base were dispatched to investigate. Upon arriving, they observed that the unusual-looking craft was desperately in need of repairs. More curiously, the apparent vehicle, which seemed to be abuzz with energy, made no sound.
Oh, a buzz with energy but made no sound. My brain is trying to work that together.
Yeah, see, I'm gonna mute my mic for a second and watch. Kind of like that.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
So like pulsing with energy, but not making a whoa, whoa, whoa noise that pulsing with energy would normally make.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right.
By the time Brenda Butler had learned of the strange incident in Rendlesham, she had been investigating the paranormal for nearly 2 decades. But her experience with the phenomena began many years before that. While playing outside at the mere age of 5, Butler had witnessed a large silvery craft, a quote, enormous bicycle wheel, end quote, hovering in the sky. By age 12, she began to receive visits from short, gray beings with spindly appendages and bulbous heads and plenty of probes to go around.
John is jealous.
But no petroleum jelly or KY jelly to be found. These guys were going in raw.
Hawktua.
Oh, no. We just made us a contemporary show. Thanks, John.
1980s now.
That'll be good for SEO. And while some would dismiss these experiences as the products of a youthful imagination, Butler claimed her parents bore witness too. And one such experience preceded the tragic death of her father.
I love that sound effect.
Okay, among the many things I had to cut out was, before this Brenda Butler even gets involved in this investigation, her whole life is filled with aliens.
Oh,
She's constantly meeting them and seeing UFOs and...
wow.
It's John's dream. It's John's dream.
John's like, how have I not heard of this woman before?
I'm in love. Honey, I'm leaving you.
I know a little bit about the Rendlesham Incident. So I'm waiting to hear, like, this other texture and this woman I didn't know about. So this is adding context to something I mean, when you watch enough UFO documentaries, it's going to come up.
Well,
it comes up. Yeah, when Will said something about a bicycle wheel in the sky, John was like, I heard about that.
Bicycle.
Cigar, hubcap, any number of shapes.
In 1979, Butler was awoken in the early morning hours by a beam of light penetrating her bedroom window.
Sorry. Wow.
Next line, bedroom window.
That's a strong light.
Whoa.
Brighter. Oh, brighter. Make the beam more narrow. I don't know. Outside, she discovered the source. A large white object hovered over the meadow outside her home. On the ground below stood a tall figure with long golden hair and dressed in a one-piece silver uniform.
Oh, wow.
Suddenly, a voice sounded within inside her head. "Do not be afraid," it spoke. "I am not here to hurt you." Brenda awoke the next day to a bad headache.
Oh.
And the voice of her father talking about his experience the night before. It was identical to that of Butler. But when Butler questioned him further, he forgot everything. It was as if his memory had been erased. And 2 months later, he died from a brain hemorrhage.
No.
Now she doesn't think the two events are necessarily related.
Okay.
Because she didn't have any health effects as a result of her encounter. But her father,
other than her pregnancy, of course.
Yes, right.
Yes, well.
To gremlins. Yes.
Give birth to a light bulb.
That penetrating light. Do it.
One day you'll be 100-watt bulb.
Right now, you're not very bright.
Right.
You're just a little LED.
Right now you're dim.
Yeah.
January 1981. Butler was thrilled to learn of the downed craft from her mystery informant. Few were better suited to uncover the truth about the crash. Immediately, Butler began speaking with as many who may have knowledge of the clandestine event. But
Question.
clandestine means like secret.
Oh.
She did not lose her memories over her experience, right?
No.
Just her dad.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Right. Or she could not have told us about the fact that her dad forgot.
Yes. Okay. Good. I didn't know if there were any other people involved in this. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Well, and there was a lot of people involved that I had to leave out. I'll tell you about some of them. They deserve to be recognized. E.T.
Accolades
Mac.
there. Yep.
From Mac and Me.
Mork.
Mork from Mork. That would have been a good thing. I should have said that. Suddenly, a voice, I'll edit this back in later. Suddenly, a voice sounded within inside her head. Nanu, Nanu, it spoke.
Nanu.
Okay,
Yeah.
And I'll laugh
John.
like you just
Okay,
said it
there
for
you
the
go.
first time.
That wasn't convincing at all. All right, so she started talking with a bunch of
Edit
people.
that in one here.
But after interviewing more than 200 people, she had documented a variety of different accounts. Some believed a UFO had crashed, tossing its dead alien passengers outside the craft. But others, for example, reported seeing a stealth bomber forced to make an emergency landing. It wasn't until 3 years later that Butler would learn in black and white what had occurred. For not only had the airmen with the U.S. Air Force witnessed the event, but they had documented it too.
Black and white photos. Okay.
Yeah.
Reports.
What was that? Boards? What?
They said, and reports.
Oh, reports.
Yes.
Yeah.
Reports. Yeah, I was trying to figure out what he said too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm talking to myself almost. I'm postulating.
Reports.
Okay, so I need to get the evidence. What do I need to pull? I'm going to pull all the files.
Oh, and Karen adds Gordon Shumway also to our list of people that need to be credited.
July 1983. Courtesy of her network of truth seekers, Butler received a memo issued on the letter.
I just remembered who Gordon Shumway was. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
Oh, yes.
It took me a second.
You got there.
I'm like, of course, Gordon should be Oh.
Yeah. Who else should be recognized?
Yes. From Melmac.
Yes.
The two people hunting the critters in the Critters movies. Those guys too, whatever their names were.
Oh.
Can't remember. Okay.
July 1983. Courtesy of her network of truth seekers, Butler received a memo issued on the letterhead of the U.S. Air Force and dated January 13th, 1981, just 2 weeks after the Rendlesham Incident. Signed by a Colonel Charles Halt. It detailed the 24 hours Halt and his men had observed something inexplicable in the woods outside their England base. It was addressed to the Air Force's English counterparts at the Ministry of Defense. The understated subject? Unexplained lights.
I love that sound effect.
So there's a base there in this area that's a Royal Air Force base, or formerly was manned and operated by the Royal Air Force through World War II. And then at some point after that, the Americans are allowed to take it over and use it as their base of operations in the area.
I have images in my head still of some documentary that, like the lights were visible from the base, but I don't know if that is a memory or impression or just it was nearby, but I don't know that it was visible from the base. It may have just been a sensational image. I don't know, but
I don't know that I use these words specifically when I mention it later, but or in a moment, but it's spotted by guards at one of the gates. From one of the gates, it's visible.
One of the gates. So not like in the base, but maybe down like where you would get clearance to get in or something.
Right, at the perimeter.
That's what I'm thinking of.
They're spotted,
Yep.
In the early hours of December 27th, 1980, 2 Air Force patrolmen raced their jeep toward an aircraft of some kind, moving slowly through the trees. Multicolored beams of light emanated from the source, now obscured by the woods. When the forest became impassable, the airmen abandoned their vehicle and continued on foot. And as they neared the locus of the flashing lights, the air became statically charged and dense. It was, they described, as if they were moving through molasses.
Oh.
When they finally reached their destination, the patrolmen found it was not a downed aircraft, as they had suspected. Instead, it was something far more peculiar. And it was hovering.
Yes, that was the part I was waiting to get to. I seem to recall that it wasn't touching the ground.
Yeah. I like how John's having recovered memories.
Here's the crazy thing. This is one of the coolest reports of possible unidentified aircraft, in that if all these people are collectively making this up together, is it a group hallucination or something? Or are they actually seeing and experiencing this thing? What motivation would they have to make it up or to go out on a limb and to be criticized? I mean, look, just like Will looks at me when I talk about this stuff, your peers are going to go, oh yeah. Even if that's what you really experienced, your predilection is probably to dial it back some because no one's going to believe you. And yet they don't. They double down. They tell exactly what it is they experienced. And it's so unlikely to be something else mistaken as this. It is so radically unusual and different. You know, pick me a spaceship that charges the air and makes the environment so thick that you can't move through it like regular air. I mean, that's not, you know, oh, it looks like a chopper fell down and they misunderstood. It's a weather balloon. No, it's none of those things, right? It's something generating a unique and very different phenomenon that these guys are experiencing as they go out to it, and just makes it so cool and exciting.
I've been enjoying watching John as you were reading that whole last section because you.
Please be hovering. Please be hovering.
BFG suggests maybe it was swamp gas.
Yes.
That'll do it every time. Yeah. And swamp gas also doesn't touch the ground. So it was just someone dropped a light stick into some swamp gas.
Appearing to float above the undergrowth. The triangular-shaped craft was about the size of a tank. A red light sat atop its glossy black surface, and a bank of blue lights glowed from underneath. It was
Propulsion.
It was nothing like...
nacelle.
It was nothing like the veteran patrolman had seen before. As Patrol Sergeant Jim Paniston approached the object, he saw what appeared to be hieroglyphs embedded upon its otherwise smooth exterior. But as he began to draw these strange symbols on his notepad, his movements became sluggish and labored. Paniston felt as if the energy was being drained from his body. And after both men stepped back, the confounding vessel suddenly ascended into the sky and vanished.
You know, like a weather balloon.
Yeah.
That just spontaneously takes off again. The hieroglyph said, not a step.
Yeah, it was upside down. After you got it back to the base, someone, wait, why did you write not a step here? Oh, shit. Is that what that was?
Destroy all humans.
December 29th, Colonel Charles Holt was enjoying Christmas dinner with other officers when he was informed about what his airmen had found. After excusing himself, Holt gathered a few men and set out for the woods. Soon, they discovered the spot of the once downed craft and set up lights to aid their investigation. 3 circular depressions in a triangular pattern were all that remained.
I guess it stopped hovering at some point, maybe. Maybe it was damaged.
Could just be impressions from the pulsing energy, driving downward. Need not make physical contact.
Yeah.
A Geiger counter revealed slightly elevated levels of radiation were most concentrated in the 7-inch diameter holes and at the ground that would have been the intersection of the shapes.
So the center of below it.
While the airmen continued their examination, the bedazzling light show appeared. A red sun-like glow burned brightly through the trees, pulsing as it rose in the sky. The troops froze. Suddenly, the ascending shape broke into 5 separate white objects and then disappeared. But that was only the beginning.
Even less believable than this craft is that Holt on December 29th was somehow still eating Christmas dinner? Is it a 5-day meal?
Yeah.
What a feast! That guy must be a hog.
He's an officer, yeah.
That's what you made a face about.
Entering day 3 of the Christmas meal.
You live well.
I couldn't. It's Mr. Creosote. I couldn't eat another bite. It's only waffle thin.
Right.
So there's your swamp gas. 5 days of eating Christmas dinner.
No
Excuse
wonder
me.
he had to excuse
Sorry,
himself.
That's a lot of Christmas turkey. Duck.
Duck. Yeah, you better duck.
Turducken.
Look, there's a lot of things that make this story
Yes.
unique and unusual and strange and mysterious. But one of the most fascinating things about this is that the military documented it. And this is, again, going back to 1981 when they did it within 2 weeks of this experience. They wrote this memo that described some of what happened.
Mm-hmm.
They took photographs, which according to Butler's book that she wrote a bunch of books about this. She's never seen them, but as soon as they got back to the base, the photos were taken from the soldiers, from the airmen. But they also purportedly, allegedly, recorded an audio tape. Colonel Halt, while he was out there, had a little cassette recorder, and he recorded what he was seeing while he was out there. The tape's only 20 minutes long because that's as long as a cassette for this particular unit could be. So he had to stop and start it a lot. And he wasn't sure when something would necessarily be happening that he should start recording again. What is it, Kat?
What's funny about cassettes?
Was he hearing flex?
Yes, that was from the tape. You're right. That was from the tape.
tape.
Yeah,
That's why he rewound it and recorded over because that was nothing important.
And it said mixtape.
So I do have a clip of the audio of Halt's tape here. And,
I don't know. Fool me once.
No. I don't do that during the true crimes the segments.
All right.
And I think this is somewhat of what we were just talking about with regard to lights, and then teases what we're about to talk about as they spot more lights in the sky.
There's no doubt about it. There's some type of strange flashing red light ahead. It's yellow. I saw a yellow tinge in it too. Weird. It appears to be maybe moving a little bit this way. It's brighter than it has been. Yellow. It's coming this way. It is definitely coming this way. Pieces of it are shooting off. There is no doubt about it. This is weird. To the left. Yeah, definitely moving left. Two lights. One light to the front, okay. One light to the left. Keep the flashlights off. There's something very, very strange.
As Colonel Halt and his men looked on in stunned silence, the lights, which illuminated the crash site, began to dim. Then, as Halt reported in his memo, 3 star-shaped objects appeared in the sky, 2 in the north and another in the south. Quote, the objects moved rapidly in sharp angular movements and displayed red, green, and blue lights, end quote. While the unidentified flying objects first appeared elliptical, they soon morphed into full circles. The objects to the north remained skybound for an hour before vanishing. The object in the south, which was visible for at least 3 hours, quote, beamed down a stream of light from time to time, unquote.
Uh-oh. Watch out, ladies.
Scanning.
About to be penetrated.
Yes.
Yeah, Kat, not just ladies.
Anybody, actually. Yeah,
right.
you're right. You're right.
The apparent target of the craft was a nearby weapons storage facility, which held a mystery of its own. It secretly housed nuclear missiles.
I love how, whatever John learns, he's like, yep, of course it did. How else are these ships getting their power? They needed power. They were damaged.
No.
It just all makes sense to John.
I suspect they're surveying humans to see what sort of technology they have. And they're interested in these weapons because these are the types of weapons that historically planets end up using to demolish the intelligent life on them. So they're like, well, the humans are almost at that point. We'll come back in 100 years. They'll be dead then.
Right.
They're about to kill one another. They have nukes. It's fine. And you know they love their vibrating without sound energy. So
exactly.
They can get the radioactive water that we all nuke, and they love it.
It's perfect, delicious
for the little spaceship. Yeah.
August 1983. Shortly after receiving Halt's memo, Butler contacted the Air Force colonel. Although he was angry that the document had been leaked, he agreed to meet with the paranormal detective. During their meeting...
John, he's like, rightfully so.
Yes, of course.
He just nodded his head. Well, yep.
You take that call.
You got to meet with the paranormal detective.
Respect.
And YouTuber.
Paranormal detective. YouTuber.
During their meeting, Butler reported that Holt was, quote, evasive, mysterious, and shifty, end quote. When confronted about details that appeared in the news that were noticeably absent from Holt's memo, Holt laughed. No creatures, he insisted, had been observed. But he concluded it was for Butler to determine the truth. And so she did. But while Butler raced to complete a book documenting her research, others began to poke Uranus-sized holes in the story.
Oh, no.
That's right, holes as big as Uranus.
No, we got it the first time.
Okay.
It's always funnier when you repeat it.
Yes.
It's always fun.
It's the repeating part that got it for her.
What happened, Kat?
She didn't get it the first time, John.
Oh, John. Yeah.
I've always been impressed in this story, though, that he was willing to meet and talk about it. Like, this is the kind of thing you just cover up and forget and bury. I mean, as you noted already, the fact that they wrote a report, they filed a report, that they've talked about it, and now talked with nut jobs, most people would say, paranormal investigators, right? Will would say.
You wouldn't say that.
But they actually said, that's another nugget, another bullet point before you start tearing through Uranus, that there is some validity and some basis here. Why would this be the one that they choose to, well, let's actually take this one seriously?
Yeah.
There's something there. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you took that down? She took down a comment about her.
I think I clicked it by accident.
Okay. Brandon said
back.
Cat was broken by Uranus.
Sorry. Blame the penetrating light, not me.
Yes. January 1981. Simon Whedon was working for the Ministry of Defense when he received Colonel Holt's memo entitled Unexplained Lights. While Whedon routinely received reports of unusual skyward activity, this one was unique. It was from a military source. Immediately, Whedon queried all of the MOD's radar stations. At least one must have detected the aircraft described in the memorandum. But after each reviewed their logs for the time in question, nothing had been seen on radar. Whedon concluded, quote, no further action was necessary. And while the U.S. and English military looked to the sky, others believed they had found the light's earthbound source.
Oh. Christmas lights.
Yes, Christmas lights. You interrupt me for my dinner one more time and I'll...
We're going to day 4. Quit it.
That's right.
Just because your little rudimentary human radar doesn't pick up these craft does not mean they don't exist.
That's
It just means your radar sucks. That's all it means.
John is anti-human.
I'm not.
He's
I'm
a self-hating
pro-visitor. I'm pro-visitor, not anti-human.
Pro-visitor. Probing.
Not probe-visitor. Pro-visitor. All right, my turn. Turn around.
Wait, are you probing yourself? My turn, turn around?
No, at the visitor. I'm taking my turn.
It's mutual probing.
It is. It is. What,
This is already back to the rusty trombone.
It's a sign of good intergalactic relations to reciprocate.
And what was the other thing you were talking
You
about?
probe me.
Yeah.
Quid quo probe.
She couldn't get it out.
It was too funny to say.
Quid pro pro. It's kind of hard to say.
Or quid probe quo.
Quid pro quo.
Or
quid
probe quo. Just probe. Just probe.
Yes, exactly. Just probe.
You know the old Latin saying, probe.
I think that's an election slogan this season, isn't it? Probe. We're going to probe.
They're probing the dogs. They're probing the cats.
Oh, God.
October 7th, 1983. Just days after the tabloid paper News of the World proclaimed a UFO had landed in Suffolk, journalist Ian Redpath, I'm going to say, began investigating the incident. Soon, Redpath spoke with Vince Thurkettle, who lived within a mile of the alleged UFO landing site.
He's back.
When asked for the local opinion on the matter, Thurkettle said, quote, "I don't know of anyone around here who believes that anything strange happened that night," end quote. Instead, he provided a practical explanation for what the airmen claimed to have seen in the woods.
Oh.
Okay, but wait, hold on. He
John does not want to hear this
established. No, it's not that I don't want to hear contrary opinions. It's that he already established he didn't come out that night. They asked and said, "Did you come out last night?" And he went,
true.
"No, I was inside." And then when they came around and says, "It was aliens," go, "No, it wasn't. I'm sure." But how do you know? You were inside. And he sounds just like that, by the way, is what he sounds like.
Yeah,
No, what? Goot, goot.
Except he's in England.
Yeah, there's the Cockney accent, right?
It's a very British hillbilly.
Goot.
Thames.
Goot, cheerio.
Probe. They only say it twice in England.
As it probe.
All right, so here's Thurkettle's explanation.
Yes. Let's hear his bullshit.
It's the lighthouse.
It's the lighthouse. Get out of here with that bullshit.
Thurkettle explained that the airmen were looking straight into the beam of the Orford Ness lighthouse. And he added, geniuses. I mean, these guys must be fucking geniuses.
How reductive and dismissive. So did the beam from the lighthouse have hieroglyphs on it that made the air feel more dense that you couldn't walk through? That left impressions on the ground? The lighthouse.
Mm-hmm. And it shot up in the air.
Yeah.
Like
like lighthouses.
They look like rockets. All right. So this journalist, Redpath, went out and interviewed Thurkettle, shortly after this newspaper story broke. And just days after that, he aired his interview on BBC. And I've got a clip here where he had Thurkettle take him to the spot in the woods that the soldiers were, supposedly. And while he's talking, you can see the light from the lighthouse behind him.
It is a pulsing white light that illuminates the forest. And if that wasn't the light they saw, then what they're saying is that within their line of vision, there were two pulsing white lights illuminating the forest. The other thing is the height. It appeared to them to move along at ground level, never going very high. Now this again, behind me was a standing tree crop. As they moved through the crop, the light would appear to move away in front of them at ground level.
For Vince Thurkettle, the only mystery remaining is why UFO researchers in 2.5 years of investigation failed to spot this most obvious of explanations.
It's not that they didn't spot it, it's that it was ridiculous and did not explain the observations. Thurkettle.
So so Ian Redpath is a journalist. I'll give you his website at the end here. He provides a lot of information. And one of the things that somebody did that he explains was they took Halt's audio where he's describing seeing a pulsing light. There it is again. Wait, it's gone. There it is again. And they're able to sync it up with Thurkettle's video that the timing of the pattern of the lighthouse is the same as Halt's spotting of a mysterious light. Something else to consider.
Were they all doing mushrooms or something?
It could have been, what was that LSD program? Yeah.
Well, and not for nothing, and not that I'm looking for an explanation, but I mean, coincidence does not mean causality. Just because those correspond doesn't mean that was the thing. If I were an extraterrestrial being and someone was flashing a light at me, perhaps I would flash back at a similar cadence. Yes. If there's a way to communicate and you're flashing me at a regular interval, perhaps these craft were trying to mimic that. That would explain a pacing.
I love that John's able to rationalize any level of bullshit.
It's not rationalization.
So fast.
I'm offering a counterpoint
Yes.
that is possible.
John,
Yes.
But the only way you can understand this counterpoint or come to it is you don't automatically dismiss the possibility.
Yes, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I got you. I think that's a great point, actually, too. And
if your predilection is to go, that's bullshit, well, you're not going to come up with perhaps it was thinking and reacting. Well, if you don't think there's anything there to think or react, how would you come up with that possible explanation? You won't even consider it, you know?
Right. Yeah, you got to be open-minded, right? Which scientists are supposed to be, Yes. BFG says, regarding our British accents, it's exactly how they sound. He was just in London and he knows.
Perfect. It's perfect.
Matt Klein, on the other hand, says, the point I'm wondering about is if Halt made the mixtape of UFO recordings to impress this girl he liked and it didn't work out like he hoped. Maybe. It was the 80s. You're right. All right, let's get here in the end here. All right.
There it is again.
Just like John, the lighthouse explanation didn't satisfy everyone. Butler easily dismissed this theory because it didn't account for the physical object or the multicolored lights the airmen had observed.
Right. It's red, a tinge of yellow. He said it right in there.
Yeah.
That lighthouse was white.
So he's in a disco,
On the other hand, Air Force security guard John Burroughs, who had witnessed the unusual event, believes the lighthouse did indeed play a role, but not in the way you might expect. Instead,
I can't wait to hear this.
Burroughs claimed the lighthouse was emanating electromagnetic frequencies towards Rendlesham Forest. The airman believes he saw, quote, plasma energy, which could be a form of intelligence, end quote.
Swamp gas.
And in
Plasma.
his 2020 book, Weaponization of Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon, academic David Clark concurs. He claims the incident was caused by experiments in harnessing an energy field in the forest.
Okay.
None of these theories, however, explained the origin of the Yeti.
Now you're just fucking with me.
Now, you guys think I'm just making a joke because we know John loves Bigfoot.
You're not?
You what?
I'm not making a joke.
Electromagnetic Yeti? Do it.
This is the bionic Yeti.
Plasma field.
Played by Andre the Giant.
Even after she published her book Sky Crash, A Cosmic Conspiracy in 1984, Brenda Butler continued to investigate the Rendlesham Incident. During that time, some anonymous whistleblowers came forward to explain that the purported alien craft was actually a Russian plane. The UFO story had been a cover-up. Many others, however, continue to witness extraterrestrial phenomenon in the woods there. And some describe a bear-like creature standing at approximately 9 feet in height, rummaging through the forest. A foul stench was said to precede the being, which made roaring noises as it traveled. According to Butler, Yetis are often spotted after the arrival of a UFO. And perhaps Rendlesham, she suggested, is home to an interdimensional portal.
Okay, first things first.
Okay, go.
First things first.
Go. Yep.
The assertion that the UFO report was a cover story for an experimental aircraft is entirely unnecessary, because go down the path of logic is like, okay, well, people are going to see this and they're going to assume that it's a Russian spacecraft, and therefore they're all going to report this and we're going to be in big trouble. So let's pretend it's a UFO.
Right.
No. When people see this, they go, "It's a lighthouse. It's nothing," right? Their predisposition is to dismiss it as nothing. There's no need to make up a UFO story to cover up something that people are already going to dismiss as nothing.
But without the UFO story, what are they dismissing? You almost need, and what's suggested by some is that, even in Brenda and Butler's book, is, noise. That they use this kind of noise to create more interesting stories that people will dismiss as bullshit and never look further. So you're right, John. I don't disagree with you about this idea that folks are going to dismiss what they're presenting.
Yeah.
But only if what they're presented is fantastical. A Russian, if we stole a Russian experimental airplane, for example, that would be politically bad, but I don't know that anybody would doubt it, especially during the Cold War. Anyway, the suggestion is some believed that at least the U.S. government thought that would be far worse than letting people believe that they had found an alien spacecraft. Would be to let the Russians know that we had, our hands on their technology.
Yeah. I do get that part. Like, I'm not dismissing that that's a plausibility. It just seems that if you take the report of an alien spacecraft out of the mix entirely, there are no other reports other than the military who are covering it up to talk about it in the first place. They just assumed other people would see it and therefore needed a cover story. Right?
Yeah,
There's not a bunch of civilians coming out going, "I saw the ship." They didn't walk out there and touch it, see the hieroglyphs and do all that. It was on the military base or just outside of it. So there's no need to cover it up. I think.
Yeah.
Oh, I see your point.
Interesting.
I see your point.
And then years after the fact, why then talk to a paranormal guy? It's like, look, the smoke screen story is done. I don't need to propagate this and keep talking to some guy. Just tell him no. Why would you be serious enough about it to talk to investigators?
Right.
And YouTubers.
Yeah, right. Don't forget the YouTubers. They're important.
Yes, they are.
They need to eat too.
With the benefit of time, perhaps, Butler came to believe that the craft that crashed in Rendlesham was a Russian satellite. But she also conceded that, quote, "there has been such a big cover-up, nobody will ever know what happened."
And it just took off again after it crashed?
And then she vanished. She married a gray alien and she disappeared. She's happy now somewhere in the universe, yes.
Oh, well. That silver spacesuit,
Yes.
that onesie, silver
It was
onesie.
very clingy.
Penetrating lights for everyone.
Yes, beam me up, beam me up, beam me down, beam me up, beam me down, beam me up.
Probe.
I haven't arrived at my final destination yet. Keep beaming. And while answers have not come from the government, they may have come from the visitors themselves.
Sorry.
Patrol Sergeant Jim Peniston, who had allegedly documented the hieroglyphs on the downed UFO, consistently denied the ship was extraterrestrial. But after undergoing regression hypnosis in September of 1994, Peniston told his therapist the UFO was not from space, but time. The ship had delivered beings from thousands of years in the Earth's future. Regarding those beings, Peniston said, quote, they are us.
Interest in nukes? Yeah.
And time travel.
More cool shit.
Again, this is a story that, these people wrote in a series of books that they say is true. And all you can, I guess, do is say, look, well, here's evidence that refutes what you're saying is true.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just so odd. And now, and think about this written back in the 1980s when there were fewer people like this. Now, it's people make money off of making up nonsense on the internet and charging subscription fees or getting subscribers on Patreon. But back then, and again, this is a person who has maintained, and these organizations that maintain, and look, rightfully so. I can see why they look. I guess ultimately what I'm saying is, especially when you think about someone like Brenda Butler, and I don't mean to disparage her character, but as I mentioned, throughout her life, she's had experiences with extraterrestrials, and they continued beyond this incident, and probably to this day. And I'm talking, and I'll tell you about the stuff that I left out, which is just...
Well, and you have to imagine, like, military personnel like Halt, he has nothing to gain by continuing to assert that this is true or propagate it. In fact, it's probably damaging to his career and reputation.
Sure.
Now, that in and of itself does not make it accurate. He could just be a fun-loving nut job that wants to keep saying they're aliens, which is fine. I can relate to that. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
You're a fun-loving nut job.
But there's the automatic dismissal that if you say something that has not been proven or is on the fringe, you must be a nutcase. Take any scientific discovery that had not been discovered yet and see how people were mocked prior to the proof of that thing's existence.
Yeah, facts. Yep.
So it's only crazy until it's proven. And granted, it hasn't been proven and it is wildly unlikely, but...
Well, in a couple weeks, right?
Yes.
It's coming up soon.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Meep Morp, where's Brenda Butler? She was telling you guys the truth.
They're going to decode the message and it says, "Hello, lost wallet at Rendlesham. Please return."
Bleep blorp. Yeah, and I guess the thing for me is I'm not trying to say she's nuts because that sounds judgy, and I know you don't mean it that way either. But to suggest that what she's not experiencing isn't observable by anybody else, I guess we can say. But it's true for her. In the very least, it's true for her. And I guess that's fascinating to me, that someone can have this fully realized life with all these, metaphysical, paranormal experiences, and it's 100% true to them. And I'm taking her at her word. That's what I guess that's my point. When she writes this book, I'm taking her at her word. When we did the thing last week, I don't know, those guys I felt like they were writing a screenplay. But it's just mind-blowing to me, that folks can be so steadfast in their convictions about stuff that is unbelievable to me. And again, I don't even have to question decide whether it's real or not. We don't have to. It's just that you think it's real or, it's true for you.
It is. It is
just like we were just doing. The exercise I try to do when I'm discussing this with someone who is a skeptic, which is totally fine, is remove the thing you're skeptical about from the argument and see if your argument holds up. So it's possible that, like I just said, a scientific discovery, take aliens out of it. What if it's, it's some medicine that doesn't exist, right? It's like, a cure for the common cold does not exist. That's fiction. Right. Well, if it gets invented next week, then everybody that said it's bullshit, they were just misinformed up until that point. You know what I'm saying? And so, so she could be lying or she could be delusional. Take aliens out of the mix. People can be delusional about lots of things that aren't paranormal. And they believe it to be true. I'm the Prince of Sweden or whatever, people that have delusions that they steadfastly believe that aren't true. Or the third option, they are true. So it's three choices.
Yeah, you're
and
right.
We just don't know it yet. Yeah.
There's some adage about science is magic until it's proven.
Right. Right. Indistinguishable from magic or whatever. Yeah, certainly.
All right, we're almost done here. 2 more paragraphs. Okay. So Peniston was hypnotized. He starts remembering things.
September 1994. Peniston told his hypnotist that the craft he had observed years earlier contained our distant descendants. They had returned, Peniston explained, to obtain genetic material needed to keep their ailing species alive. Curiously, a year earlier, The made-for-TV movie Official Denial was broadcast on the Sci-Fi Channel. In it, an alien craft is shot by the U.S. Air Force, bringing it down in a forest. According to the film, it contains creatures that are here to, quote, get genetic material to help them reproduce because their race is dying out, end quote. And the characters in the film were not extraterrestrials. Quote, they're us.
Okay.
So did he really remember it, or did he remember it because he saw it a year earlier?
Yeah. And how would you suddenly know who the occupants and their motivations were when none of that was part of the original encounter?
Yeah.
True. Right.
Well,
Yeah.
Among the many things I'm leaving out is that this Peniston's changed his story over the decades. Apparently, according to some other folks there, including Halt, he didn't have or the other Burroughs, I think it was, that was with him. He didn't have a notepad. He didn't even have time. He didn't have time to write things down. That none of that had happened. And over the decades, Peniston kept remembering more things he wrote in his notebook. Oh, you know what I just remembered I also wrote? He shows you pages he hadn't showed you yet. At one point, he said telepathically he was being dictated this series of binary code. He just had the string of numbers.
Oh.
But in this notebook where he had these supposed hieroglyphs documented, he had the wrong dates that didn't line up with the memo, and the times were wrong. And they weren't written in military time. They were written different, comments. So it's all these things that made it kind of sus. And then when he laid this on them, it was like, all right, this guy is not one of the reliable narrators in this story.
That sounds goofy.
All right, here we go. Where's the end here?
We may never know what transpired those 2 evenings in Rendlesham. Was it in one day we will?
Oh, yeah. We'll know one day.
Oh, we will.
Was it in extraterrestrial ship, a Russian plane, or a time machine? It probably wasn't that last one, though. Today, you may visit the woods in Suffolk. The forest even has its own official UFO trail.
I realize these episodes are now just giving John vacation spots.
I was going to say, guess where John's going next?
An official UFO trail complete with a life-size replica of the flying saucer.
What?
But, according to Brenda Butler, there are, quote, 8 landing sites down here. Everybody has got their own take on it. If you go down there with any of the witnesses, they'll take you somewhere else, end quote. And so, the clues to the Rendlesham Incident are just like the many UFO trails in Rendlesham. We're not sure which leads to the truth.
There you go. That's the Rendlesham Incident.
Oh, boy.
Now, look. I guess firstly, so there's Brenda Butler, but there's some other characters. She worked with a team of folks, ufologists, including Jenny Randalls, who was the leader of this British organization that I don't know if she's still with us, but active for many, many years. Very, what's the word? A YouTuber of sorts, a YouTuber of her generation. Dot Street was another person she co-wrote. Brenda co-wrote her first book with. My tale today was based in part on their follow-up book that Brenda wrote with Philip Kinsella, Sky Crash Throughout Time. And here's the subtitle: UFOs, the Reptilian Man, and Strange Mysteries Surrounding Rendlesham. Because there's a whole lot in this book that I left out, including reptilians who can look like human. One befriends her. And lives with her friends and lives with her, and he's there for a while in this story.
Wow.
Brenda's relationship with the Greys, they keep popping in and out of her life. Mind reading, human alien incarnation, and also a connection of near-death experiences to alien abduction is explained. I also relied on a BBC article from 2020 written by Nick Rigby, and there's a trove of information over at journalist Ian Ridepath's website. I'll put all these links on our website when I post the written version of the story. Cool. And this guy Ridepath, he He's a journalist. So much like the other folks, he just took it to investigate, but he investigated over a period of years. And so for every point someone raises, he has another perspective that he presents. Some folks challenged the authenticity of Halt's tapes. Some folks said they think it sounds like it was made in a studio. And there's some other reasons why it might not be reliable. I think he doesn't question it. Peniston, his stories, holes are shot in it. Anyway, it's a great website. It's really broken down in an organized way that you can just go to straight what the thing you want to learn about and with regard to the story. There you go.
And there you go. He should have used a Maxell.
Yeah, 90 minutes per side, right? Maybe.
That's right.
Or 45 minutes per side, I guess.
Yeah.
90 minutes
That's
total.
what I used.
All right. Hey, that was our very long show. We could have not fit this on a Maxell tape that had 45 minutes per side.
But we'll try to squeeze this in at the end for the last little tiny bit. Our show was brought to you thanks in part to our early adopters, Rick Parker and Karen Flieger.
Thank you.
And thank you especially to our Secret of Our Success level Patreon supporters who maybe don't mute us.
Maybe.
John Henderson, maybe. Sure. Brandon Greer.
Can't be sure.
Marcus Taylor. Tony Great. Nick Guillory. And Matt Marino.
Thank you so very much. Hey, do you want to help support our show like these many wonderful people that do? And go to patreon.com/1980s now to find out how we can thank you every week out loud and, let everybody know how grateful we are. But you could also, give some smaller amounts of money and still get access to some of the other content we provide. Most recently, I posted audio that was before the show and after the show where I didn't realize that I was making Kat question whether I wanted her to be a part of the show anymore. But she listened to that and other goodies like that. All right. Hey, meanwhile, we will continue to talk to you. No. Hey, whatever. Okay. Take two.
You will continue to mute us.
Yes. Don't mute this part because it's the end. We will talk to you next time. Okay. It's time to unmute. Maybe we need a sign for that if you're watching the video.
This is the end now. It's your favorite part.
We will talk to you again next time on 1980s Now.
Until next time.
Quid quo probe.